At the beginning of the movie, we're told that Earth's resources have almost completely run out. To search for new ones, a team of astronauts and scientists is sent to the planet Neptune. Many years pass after that mission is launched. We then meet Major Roy, an astronaut working on a new experiment. He's struggling to repair his space station because strange energy waves from deep space keep hitting Earth. These waves have caused massive destruction. Countless people have died because of them. During one of these incidents, Roy himself falls from the station, plummeting rapidly toward the ground. Thanks to gravity and his survival instincts, he makes it back to Earth alive, but all his crewmates are lost, gone somewhere out there in space. He's the only one who survived, but even after such a near-death escape, Roy finds no joy in living. He doesn't seem to feel happiness or sorrow anymore. That emotional emptiness even drove his wife away. Roy wasn't always this way, though. The drastic turns in his life shaped him into the man he is now. As a child, he was deeply attached to his father, one of the greatest astronauts the world had ever known. Years ago, his father had traveled to Neptune for an experimental mission, the very same project shown at the beginning of the movie. NASA used to stay in regular contact with Roy's father and his team. They would send updates about the situation on Neptune and their research progress back to Earth. But a few years later, all communication with them suddenly stopped. Despite years of effort, NASA couldn't locate their space station anywhere in the solar system. Eventually, they had no choice but to declare Roy's father and his entire crew dead. From that day on, Roy's life grew even emptier and more detached. Sometime later, Roy is summoned to headquarters. There, he's told something shocking. The same mysterious energy waves that destroyed his space station are coming from Neptune, from the exact location where his father's team had been sent years ago. NASA scientists believe those waves are being generated by the very space station Roy's father had built, and that such energy couldn't possibly be created by itself. The scientists suspect that Roy's father might still be alive, continuing some kind of experiment that's causing these catastrophic waves. Perhaps, from way out there, Roy's father doesn't even realize that his experiment is slowly destroying Earth. NASA reveals that they've tried repeatedly to contact him, but there's been no response from the station. To stop the destruction, they plan a new mission, and Roy is chosen to lead it. One of his father's old friends is assigned to accompany him. Their journey begins, and soon their rocket launches into space. The first stop on their mission, the Moon. After landing on the Moon, the team had to travel across its surface to reach another base called the Spacecom Outpost. But on their way there, they were suddenly ambushed by space pirates, outlaws who roamed the lunar surface for resources and equipment. The attack was brutal. Many of Roy's teammates were killed, and Roy himself was injured in the fight. Eventually, the survivors managed to reach the Spacecom base, but by then Roy's older companion had fallen seriously ill. He was too weak to continue the journey to Mars. Before staying behind, he handed Roy a secret chip and a classified message. That's when Roy learned the shocking truth. This mission wasn't meant to rescue his father. It was meant to destroy the experiment on Neptune, even if his father was still alive. The news hit Roy hard, but despite the pain, he chose to continue the mission. On their way to Mars, the crew detected another nearby space station. Roy's captain decided to stop there to replenish their supplies. When they boarded it, the place was eerily silent, completely abandoned. There were no signs of life until they discovered a vicious primate locked inside a lab chamber. The creature went berserk the moment it saw them, launching a deadly attack. The captain was severely injured, but Roy fought back. He managed to trap the enraged animal inside a vacuum chamber and release the air pressure, killing it instantly. After the attack, Roy carried his wounded captain back to their ship, only to realize he hadn't survived. From that point on, Roy had to continue the mission alone. Things got worse when a powerful energy surge from Mars struck their spacecraft, sending it spinning out of control. But even in that chaos, Roy didn't lose his composure. He showed no fear, just focus. Somehow, he managed to stabilize the ship and make a rough but successful landing on Mars. Once he arrived, Roy was handed a script, a message he had to record and send to his father on Neptune. It was their only hope of making contact after all these years. In reality, communication between Mars and Neptune was still possible, but not with Earth. Roy's first recorded message was transmitted to Neptune, hoping to reach his father, but there was no reply. Seeing no response, Roy decided to try again, this time speaking straight from his heart. Ignoring the official script, he recorded a deeply emotional message, expressing his pain, love, and longing for his father. Then he sent it off. The other astronauts were against it. To them, emotion had no place in space. Feelings cloud judgment, and astronauts are trained to suppress them. Because Roy broke protocol, he was removed from the mission. Arrangements were made to send him back to Earth. But before he could leave, something extraordinary happened. A response came through. His father had replied. Roy was desperate to hear his father's voice, but the crew refused to let him access the message. Soon after, Roy met the director of the Mars space station. It was their first encounter. She looked at him sternly and asked, "Do you even know about the energy waves that keep striking this station and the planet? Because of them, I've lost many of my people." Roy said nothing. He simply turned to leave, but then the director called after him. "Do you know what really happened to your father?" Her words stopped him cold. She then showed Roy an old video, one that had been received years ago from Neptune. In that footage, Roy's father explained that he had been sent to Neptune for a massive research project. Everything had gone well at first, but over time, his crew began to fall apart. The endless isolation drove them to psychological collapse. Life out there felt meaningless, and one by one, they decided they wanted to return to Earth. But Roy's father, as the mission's captain, refused. He had come too far, and he wasn't ready to give up the search. The rest of the crew, however, rebelled against him, uniting in their decision to head back home. Seeing this, Roy's dad had shut down all the life support systems of the spaceship, completely disabled them. Because of that, every single member of his crew died. When Roy found out about this, he was in shock. The man the world knew as the greatest scientist, the greatest astronaut, was actually a murderer. Roy started trembling with anger. Then, the director told him, "My parents were part of your father's crew. They first came to Mars, that's where I was born. After that, they set out for Neptune. They wanted to come back to take me with them, but your father killed them, and I lost them forever." The director then reveals that Roy's father's message had actually reached Earth years ago, but the people at NASA didn't want the world to see him as a villain. That's why they staged the whole drama, that his crew had died and he was lost in space. If the truth had come out, nobody would have trusted him again. But for NASA, he was still an asset because he was completing their research and sending back data. Even today, he's working on his strange, dangerous experiments. And those very experiments are creating energy waves that are destroying both Mars and Earth. The director tells Roy that this is the reason he was called here, so that through him they can contact his father, track his location, and stop him. She also reveals that they've already found where his father is. And now, the same spaceship Roy came in on is heading to Neptune again, this time with 5 crew members on board. Their mission, to destroy the Lima project and end his father's experiments once and for all. Roy wanted to meet his father just once in his life. He asked the director, "Will you help me?" She agreed, but told him, "I can only get you to the rocket. After that, you'll have to travel alone." Roy nodded. The director then guided him through a tunnel that led straight to the rocket launch pad. The launch sequence was just about to begin when Roy started climbing up toward the rocket at full speed. Right at the moment of launch, he managed to open the spaceship door and tried to get inside. Alarms immediately started blaring. The system detected an intruder. When the crew went to check, they saw Roy outside the spacecraft. Panicking, they decided to knock him out, thinking he might sabotage the mission. But in the chaos, they didn't notice that the spaceship door was still open. Because of that, the internal pressure dropped rapidly. The oxygen tanks burst, and one by one, the crew members died due to lack of oxygen. Roy, however, was still alive. He was wearing a full spacesuit. He quickly closed the door, stabilized the ship, and moved toward the control deck. From there, he reported everything to Earth, every single thing that had just happened, and continued his journey toward Neptune. Throughout this journey, Roy was deeply depressed. The man he once idolized, his father, wasn't the hero he believed him to be. He had abandoned Roy long ago. Watching his father's old video logs, Roy saw his mother appear in one of them, and that broke him even more. He started questioning everything. Why am I like this? Why do I feel so alone? And then he realized this loneliness came from his father's absence. His father's departure had left a wound so deep, it made him mentally unstable. Since then, Roy had chosen isolation, unable to connect or feel comfortable with anyone. He was exhausted, tired of it all. Time passed. Finally, Roy reached the Lima space station near Neptune. As soon as he entered, chills ran down his spine. The entire station was empty. Everywhere he looked, dead astronauts were floating lifelessly in zero gravity. He couldn't find his father anywhere. As he moved further inside, he saw a massive container. Inside it, a violent chemical reaction was taking place. Those energy waves were the reason Mars and Earth were being destroyed. Roy knew what he had to do. He had to destroy that container. As he began loading the nuclear weapon, suddenly his father appeared. Standing above him, his father looked down and said softly, "Roy, is that you?" After all these years, seeing his father again made Roy emotional. Despite everything, he couldn't hold back and ask, "How are you, Dad?" His father replied quietly, "Tired. I've been trying to control these energy waves for years." Roy was shocked. He had been told his father was creating those waves intentionally. Confused, he asked for the truth, and his father began to explain. "When my crew tried to leave, this entire space station was about to collapse. There was an antimatter reactor inside our ship. It started attracting cosmic cosmic energy, and then massive energy waves began bursting out. Those waves killed everyone, except me. I survived, and I've been trying to contain them ever since. Hearing this, Roy was stunned. He looked at his father and said, "Don't worry, Dad. I'm here now. I'll fix everything. Once this is over, we'll both go back to Earth." But his father shook his head. "No, Roy, I don't want to go back. Earth never felt like my world. I always wanted to be here, in space, studying the stars, searching for life beyond our planet. Space was my first priority. That's why I left your mother, our family, you, and the whole world behind. I didn't love you enough because I knew, if I got attached to you, I would never have been able to stay here." Roy's eyes filled with tears. The man he had loved and missed all his life was now saying he never really loved him. Roy took a deep breath and said, "Maybe you didn't, Dad, but I love you, and that's why I'm taking you back to Earth." He then finished loading the nuclear weapon. It would destroy the antimatter core once and for all. After setting it up, he helped his father put on a spacesuit and started preparing the exit plan. But right then, his father stopped him. "No, Roy, don't. Please let me stay. I don't belong to that world. This is my world." Roy froze, torn between saving his father and letting him go. His father looked at him one last time and said softly, "Please forgive me too, Roy, because I couldn't give you the love you deserve. And even today, I'm leaving you again." Saying this, he gently pulled his hand away from his son's grip and drifted off into the endless void of space. Roy's eyes filled with tears as he whispered his final goodbye, and then he let go of the rope. He fired up his thrusters and began pulling himself back toward his own spaceship. Once inside, he looked out the window and saw his father, now floating far away in Neptune's orbit, fading into the distance. After that one last look, Roy started up his ship. Just as he was about to continue his journey, he realized his fuel was running dangerously low. With what little was left, there was no way he could make it back to Earth. Regret filled his heart. He thought maybe he was destined to die here too, just like his father. But then, the bomb he had planted inside the station exploded. The blast released a massive energy wave that pushed Roy's spaceship forward, a powerful thrust sending him on course toward Earth. That single push was enough to save fuel, and now Roy could finally make it home. For the first time in years, he felt peace. During his journey back, Roy began reading the documents his father had left behind. In them, his father had written, "Human beings are the most intelligent life forms in the entire universe. The limited resources of Earth cannot be replaced by any planet or alien species. Only humans can help themselves by rebuilding, by sustaining, by evolving." Reading those words, Roy finally understood his father's sacrifice. He had given up his own life in space to teach humanity a powerful lesson. This journey had changed Roy forever. The man who once felt detached from life now had learned to love it. He began to feel emotions again, to act like a human again. Eventually, he reunited with his wife. They smiled, embraced, and decided to start over, to live again. And with that, the movie comes to an end.